Hello. All right, we're seeing people jump on here. As you are joining, please feel free to pop into the chat and introduce yourself, your name, business name, industry that you're in. I will start.
Hello, welcome. Hi, Kate. I see that Kate just popped on.
Okay.
Perfect.
We are so excited that you guys are here today. There's so much goodness to come. Again, as you're jumping on, introduce yourself in the chat. Feel free to share something that you're hoping to learn today, maybe a question that you want to make sure Lydia or I make sure that we address.
Yes, absolutely. So exciting to see some familiar names popping in. Hi, PJ.
I see Mike. Kate, good to see you again. Again, share with us what you're hoping to learn. Share with us your name. We are so excited that you're taking time out of your busy schedules to be here. We've got a lot of value and content to share with you guys today. So we're excited to get to it. We'll give maybe one more minute for people to jump on, and then we will go from there. I should have some background music.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Awesome. Molly, hi, I see you there. I'm so glad that you popped on. All right. As people are joining, we will get started here. Welcome everyone to the Building Your Brand from Scattered to Strategic workshop. We are so excited you're here. Our goal of today is to help you feel more confident, to feel more clear, to feel more consistent, both visually and with your voice. Less reinventing the wheel every time you go to create content or go to create something that you want to share with your dreamy client or ideal audience. Less second guessing if your content is relevant or if it's worthy of sharing. But before we dive in, a couple super quick housekeeping items. I see people are introducing themselves in the chat. Thank you for that. It's helpful for us to know who's on here, what you're hoping to learn, kind of what industry you're in, so we can tailor this workshop as closely and, or I guess, to be as relevant and valuable to you as possible. Know that I'm going to double check. This is being recorded. Confirming, check there. So don't worry if you have to step away, you'll get the replay of this after. Use the chat or the Q&A feature for questions. I'll be monitoring that and hoping to address every question that you get so you guys really walk away with burning questions answered and all the insight that you're looking for. And know that we will send that replay after the session. There's lots of free resources to come at the end to dive deeper. So know we're going to try to introduce a lot of things today with next steps available to you. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Rachel Robole. I'm a mortgage advisor at Annie Mac Home Mortgage. I come from the wedding world. So wedding planner turned mortgage advisor. The one thing that has stayed at the core of what I do and why I do it is meeting people where they're at, helping people to get where they want to go, and making sure that they feel seen and heard, supported and championed every step of the way. So that goes for the individuals and the families that I help with home financing, but it is just as potent for my circle of small business owners that are showing up for each other, that are cheering each other on. This world of small business, or whatever role you play in whatever size of the business that you are creating and so intentionally crafting. I see you, I want to cheer you on, and I want to support you to hit those goals. I'm so happy that you guys are making this investment of time and energy to really build an intentional framework and a foundation so that you feel really confident about the messaging and content that you're sharing. I think with branding and consistency is one of the most common challenges I hear voiced. And it isn't a you problem. Sometimes it's just a system problem from a visual or a voice standpoint. And we need tools that help us showing up or help us continue to show up strategically when life gets busy, or we need to focus on that zone of genius in our business that isn't always content creation, right? So today, Lydia is going to walk us through her brilliant brand audit so we can kind of uncover what do we already have, where are we at today. We're going to set up some repeatable systems for both design and your copy. And then we're going to start using AI to create content in a way that feels a little less overwhelming. So excited to bring you Lydia. She's the owner of Venlo Studio. She's a dear friend of mine. She is, quite frankly, one of the most brilliant people that I know as a creator, an entrepreneur, and a brand strategist. She offers services from brand refreshes to building your brand from the ground up through graphic design support, through brand photography, and through her wisdom. So she's a lady with many, many talents. Including winemaking, which is a whole workshop, a different workshop for another day, and simply cannot be a virtual one. So she has so much in store for us today. So I'm just going to let her run with it from here.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Rachel, so much for the intro. I look up to you so much in the business world and just admire all like the tips and tricks that you have had over the past few years of us growing our businesses together. So super stoked to be here with you and excited for all of our attendees here. I really hope that you have some takeaways from today. I'm going to dive deep into Canva and we are going to just show you shortcuts, tools, tricks, hacks, all the things to make your life easier and like help you build content more consistently and quickly. That's the goal. Nobody likes making content, right? So we're gonna kind of fast forward and show you some good hacks for that. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here. We're gonna pop up this window. So hopefully that, are you seeing it on your end, Rachel? Are we good?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so this is the brand audit workbook that I created for you all. So you should have gotten it in the email. Hopefully you had time to fill it out. If not, that's okay. It'll just be a really good starting point if this is filled out so that you can copy and paste and kind of use this as your guide when creating content. So my good friend, Kate, who was actually on the call, allowed us to use her as our test example for today's call. So thank you, Kate. So she filled this out and sent it back to me. And so what we're going to start with is just a quick audit of her brand. I'm going to go through, and if I see any suggestions, I'm going to call them out just so that she can know that, and so that maybe some of you guys can start thinking of how to strengthen your brand, because everyone's brand is going to be in a different spot, right? You know, from beginner to people who have been in business for years and years and years and maybe have already worked with a professional designer. There's a big array there. So this is a chance for you to fill it out and kind of see where you're at and see if there's any places that you can identify on ways you can strengthen your brand. So we're going to start with the logo suite. So this looks awesome. She has 3 very distinct marks. She has her primary horizontal. There's kind of this like circle secondary and then a really simplified version. I think this looks great. I wouldn't add anything, take away anything. If you want, you could add in some different colorways of your logos. Like if you only use it in pink, then I would keep it that way. But you know, you could use like white on a colored background. You can duplicate this page if you want to like see like what that would look like in different ways. But I will say there's a couple people in the chat that said that they were in the real estate industry. So if you're in a situation where you work with a parent brand, maybe you have a brokerage like Keller Williams or some type of parent brand that you work with that your logo will often pair with very closely and often, you can add that in here into your logo suite as well and kind of check to see like, does your logo work and look good with your parent brand? Maybe you don't use your parent brand a lot, and if that's the case, I wouldn't even worry about it, but that's something to consider in this logo section here. So we're going to move on to the color palette. I really like Kate's color palette because she uses a lot of fun, bright colors that are really attention grabbing and really speak true to like who she is as a person and her design style. What I noticed here is the only thing I would improve is just to add a little bit more contrast. I would recommend adding in your darkest color, which I looked on her website. I have it up here for quick reference. And so this is her website, which is just beautiful and so fun. But she does use black a lot for text. And so I did notice in her color palette section that she didn't have black here. So my recommendation is to add in your exact black hex code, because believe it or not, there can be so many different kinds of blacks. Like it's not always just a true black. So that would be the only thing to add in here. Next, we have typography. Again, she did a really nice job formatting her different fonts and highlighting them in here of how she wants to use them. My one recommendation, again, after looking at her website, is I was noticing some other secondary headlines like this one right here that I think would be really helpful to add in, because this type of like H2 is what we would call it, would make a really good pairing with her H1, which is kind of a little bit more of a stylized font. So I put in a recommendation here to Kate to add in another H2. Like I really like this all caps one, but I think we can do a fig tree bold that is lowercase caps, like regular caps, to add in that additional one there. And next we have brand patterns and textures. I think these two are awesome. I'm definitely going to use one of these in the tutorial today. One comment I had for some of the elements and icons that she pulled in is I'd recommend building this out even more. I would say, you know, think about like the content pieces that you'd be making, like what icons would you be using over and over and over again that would be really helpful to have just in this document for easy copy paste. So like one idea, like I'm going to be using an arrow today. So I'd recommend her finding like an arrow style that she likes, and also a star style, because with we're going to put together a testimonial. So definitely have a star or some type of like some shapes that you could use there. And then last but not least, like, you know, circles. Do you have like other things that you would be ever tying into any content? Dump them all here and it will be a super quick and easy reference for you to copy and paste. But otherwise, I think this looks great. Next, we have imagery style, and I'm super pumped about these because I was actually the one to take Kate's brand photos, which was super fun, but I love, love, love that she like pulled in her brand colors into her imagery style. So she has this bright pink blazer that is now like her icon color, which I love. And so this is a really great way to, if you don't have professional brand photos, like that's a-okay. I would just go through the Canva stock photos and pull in some that are like, could be some go-to ones, even to use as like backgrounds, or if, as you're building out content, it's just really nice to have a gallery of images that are on brand. So that looks great. I love that. And then last but not least, we have the brand voice, which Rachel is actually going to dive a little bit further into this one. I won't touch as much on it today, but I love kind of how she like ranked her brand, and you can kind of just see like the different personality traits that she's going for. So that's even helpful to know as we're putting together the visual content piece, right? Because we want her content to feel more casual than formal as well. So with that, we're going to keep this up, and I'm actually going to be copy and pasting a lot of these elements in. We're going to be creating a testimonial template today, as well as a case study template. So starting with the testimonial, what I want to say, so right now I just have like a blank canvas up, and I don't want this to be intimidating for you. I know a lot of people gravitate towards opening this design tab and searching for like a pre-made template, but I'm going to challenge you today to stay away from that. And here's why, is a lot of these pre-made templates are beautiful as they are, but they don't match your brand. And that's the biggest problem that I see, is a lot of people just use all these different templates, and like their grid on Instagram is chaos because they have all of these fonts, all of these colors, like nothing is cohesive and your brand isn't standing out in its own way. So we're not starting with a Canva template today. We're going to start from scratch. So open a blank document, and what I'm going to do is we're going to start with this beautiful gradient background here. So I'm going to copy that, paste it over, and we're going to make this the full size so that this can be our background. So for a testimonial, I did ask Kate to send over some. So I have this copy doc up, ready to go, ready for easy copy and paste. I'd highly recommend, as you're building content, to have your copy polished and ready to go in a document, easy for copy paste. So for Kate specifically, maybe she has one document just full of testimonials. And then at the end here, I put in her case study. So she could have another one full of case studies. So that way, when you're setting aside time, you can make it super easy on yourself to just have everything in one spot. So this is what we're going to be using today. But let's go back here and build out our template so that we can have that ready to go and then paste in the copy text. So I'm going to be using a lot of shortcuts today. I'll try to name them out on my keyboard as I'm typing them, and hopefully maybe you'll learn something that you didn't know before. But we're going to start with a rectangle tool. So I'm going to press R. And right away, I noticed that I want to get her color palette in there. So we're going to go to the color tab. And what I'm going to do is select her colors, copy, and I'm going to paste them in here. And I'm actually just going to have this as like my, here, this is kind of a fun trick, but I'm going to duplicate this page. Now we're going to delete these, and now all of her colors will be automatically saved at the top here because they're already in the document. So now I can pull in this light pink color. So at the end, we'll actually just delete this page, but it's a really easy way to get your colors in there, especially if you don't have Canva Pro. If you do have Canva Pro, an easier hack for this is to actually upload all of your brand assets here in this brand tab. So as you can see, like my logo for Venlo is in there because I use Canva Pro, but you do not have to use that. This tutorial works for anyone. Canva is a free tool. It's an amazing tool. So I would highly recommend having this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a large rectangle block that I'm going to use for the copy. And I'm going to duplicate this by holding down Option and dragging. This is a hack that I love and use like every single day. So this back one, I'm going to do outline with no fill. And I'll show you why in a second. So then this one I'm going to make a little bit smaller. And then we're going to nest these two together. And then I might even make both of them a little bit bigger. So my inspiration for this design actually came directly from her website. So this is what I would recommend doing as you're starting to build content and you're like, I don't even know where to start. Look at your website, look at your social medias. Like, what do you use? Like, find these, like, do you use a box with a shadow like this part? Or like, this is kind of where I drew the inspiration from, is like her pull quote was on this like fun gradient background. And then further down, I noticed she has some lines kind of highlighting this section. So that's how I kind of came up with this idea to do like this box style with a line outline that will kind of hold her quote here. So then next I'm going to pull in her body copy. See how easy it is to just copy and paste everything that you need from that working document. So that's going to be the body copy. And I'm also going to pull in these two fonts because we're going to want a title here. So we're going to call that testimonial. And then let's make sure that's centered. And then this font here is her call out. And I'm thinking this would be really nice to put the name of the person who has the quote. So that's what we're going to use that spot for. So let's go pull in a quote here. So we're going to do this first one, copy, paste it right into the body copy. And then we're going to pull this a little bit more. I would say having negative space and margins on the side, you guys, is one of the biggest mistakes that I see. So definitely make sure you have plenty of room. I see people pulling this really, really close to the edge, and that is just not good. We need some breathing space. So this is looking like a good format to me. And then I'm going to copy in the name as well. Oh, that's not what we wanted. There we go. Okay, let's pop that in here. I'm just gonna align it there on the right. And then what are we missing? I think some stars would be really nice to add in here. This is a 5-star review, so we want to visually show that. Let's see, there we go. That wasn't quite centered. So what I'm gonna do, since Kate didn't have stars in her brand guide, I'm gonna go in here and type in star icon, and we're just gonna look quickly at the styles and see if there's something that might work well. And let's just use like the simple one here. So I'm going to pull that in, make it quite a bit smaller. And then let's see what brand colors she has that would look good with this. I'm thinking that the orange would really pop off of this light pink background. So we're going to use that brand color. Again, we're not adding in colors that are not already in her brand guide. We are being very strategic about this. Okay, so we have the 1-star. I'm going to hold down Option on Mac. It might be different for PC. And we're just going to duplicate this, keeping the spacing consistent. As you can see those little guides coming up. So we're 19 pixels apart. So there we go. You can group these all together, highlight all of them, Command G, that will group them together, that they move as a unit all in one. Here is our testimonial template. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this one because that was just a guide to get our colors in there. And then here's the cool thing. Once you have a template built, it is so easy to duplicate the page and then just plop in new copy. So super easy, you guys. This is a way that I use in my design process. I'm creating content. Look at how easy that was. And then we just swap out the name, and that's like a whole nother graphic that is completely done and ready for us to schedule a post. So that is why I absolutely love using templates that are on brand and true to like who you are. And it just like serves you well and works really, really well. So that is an example of a testimonial post. I want to run through one more example of a case study, and it's going to be quick. So try to
Lydia,
keep up. Yeah.
Can I jump in really quickly on the testimonial? I popped in a few other like titles that they can use outside of testimonial, but I think sometimes with content, we judge ourselves by the amount of engagement that we get. But remembering that yes, your social media or where you're posting this is hoping to pull new clients in, but for many of us, this is our living, breathing business card, or showing who we are, how we operate, etc. And so sometimes I feel like my testimonials maybe aren't the most engaging content, but especially when I have a go-to template, then someone can really easily scroll through my grid and see those testimonials popping out, so that if they're okay, who is working with Rachel? What are they saying about it? They can really quickly identify. I just think sometimes we think, oh, I'm posting the same thing all the time, or, my grid has, this exact same post consistently on there. Like, that is an okay thing. I know sometimes when I'm posting, it's like, I feel like I'm doing the same thing over and over. Like that consistency actually can really build trust and help people gather the information that they're looking for really quickly.
Yeah, totally. That's a really great point. So thank you for bringing that up, Rachel. Okay, sweet. So next for this case study, we're going to go a slightly different approach just to get a little bit more variety on her grid. So what I'm going to do is copy these color palettes again, because we're going to start with those. Okay, so those are in there. Now what I'm going to do is start with a background color. So I'm going to put this peach in there again. I really like this, especially for a case study, because any like client color palettes, they can be all over the board, right? So this feels like kind of more of a neutral to build off of. So going back to Kate's website here, I'm going to pull a little bit more inspiration. I really love like this like computer, like with the full screen kind of mock-up. So we're going to implement that for the cover page. So let's go back here. And I've already uploaded, Kate sent me some screen grabs from one of her recent projects. So I'm going to use this one and just kind of pull this down here. Now what I'm going to do is type in laptop, and I want it to be a frame so that we can pull a photo in there. So all frames in Canva like have this like picture plugin there. So we're just gonna pick this one here because it's simple and easy, but we're going to make this about the same size so that we can kind of replicate that visual view. And then I'm going to drop in that same thing so it feels a little bit seamless. Let's drag this so it's at the top. Oh, and that's actually the wrong one. That was the before. Here's the right one. Okay, there we go. So now it feels like a seamless screen going down. And let's grab her H1 again. There we go. It's not quite loading. So I'm going to grab this one. Okay, so we're going to put that at the top here. And the H1 for this is going to be new website launched. And that's going to be on the title of every single case study because, Kate makes websites. And so that makes sense for her brand. Looks like there might be an extra space here at the end. Maybe not. Oh, it's just not centered. There we go. Okay, so we have that. And then one other piece of inspiration I'm going to pull from her site. I really like this like long banner with all caps text in it. It happens a couple times on her site here. So I'm going to pull that in at the top to really attention grab at the top, and so that people know like this is a case study. So again, we're pressing R for a rectangle. And I'm going to just format it in a way that is kind of like a banner shape. So we're going to pull that across, change the color. I want to utilize this bright pink here. And then what we're going to do is pull in this subhead font. So we're going to paste that in here. And I'm going to put case study and just repeat that a couple times to mimic that banner look. And then let's make this white to pop onto the pink. And then, let's do the whole thing white. That would be helpful. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to make it a little bit smaller just so that it fits in this space. And we will center that. And then I might even just add a couple more spaces in here just to kind of like make the words a little bit easier to read. So there we have it. There is a really great cover post for this type of carousel post, which honestly, the carousels are performing really well right now. So what I'd recommend is having a cover page and then some interior pages, and those can all be the same format. You can just swap out different content and then have a page at the very end that's more of a call to action. You want people, after they see the work that you've done, to be like, okay, I kind of want this. How can I work with you? And then it should be detailed at the end there. So we are going to duplicate this, and I'm going to delete this banner because we're going to switch to an interior template. And real quickly, I'm just going to put together one interior page for the sake of time. But I'm going to use this as, actually, let's remove this one. And we're just going to start from scratch here. So I'm going to pull in, I created a secondary text for Kate, like what I kind of recommended here. So I already have it formatted and ready to go. So we're going to use that. And then I want to pull in her logo mark, which is the simplest form. We're going to pull that in at the top and just kind of resize it so that kind of feels like a letterhead. I really like that look. So I'm going to put that there. And then I'm going to use the shortcut L to make a line. And I just kind of want to create like this border at the top. We're going to change that color to her pink. Let's do this one. And then option, we're going to duplicate that and move it to the other side. So we kind of have this nice bordering at the top. We have our H2 here, which it already is in the copy that we're going to be working from. So you see we're here. So now we're going to get this body copy in there. So I'm going to go back here and pull in her body again. So we're going to plop that in. And what I want to do is for formatting is I want to put the body text at the bottom. So let's copy this and paste it in. So many tabs. Okay, and then we're going to format this so there's plenty of margin on the sides. And then on the middle section is where I'm going to put some of her before pictures. So, you know, what I was kind of playing around with is just, you know, kind of making a little bit of a photo grid that we can kind of showcase just what some of like the before sections of the website looked like before Kate worked on it. So you can arrange these however you want in the middle, but basically like this would be our template. Oh, one more thing I wanted to add is an arrow. So let's go to here and just type in arrow icon and go to graphics, and then we can pull in whatever style. So this is why I was recommending it's nice to have this like already set at the beginning of working on a brand, but we're just going to pull in this one, and Kate can find a better one that fits her brand to use later. But this would be a good example of an interior page of a carousel. So this kind of lets people know that it keeps going. So you can duplicate this so many times and then fill in, you know, like here's the before, here's the after, here's what we were able to do for them. All of that information can go here. And then at the very end, what I recommend is pulling in Let's see what I had in the copy doc here. So here's my call to action. We're gonna plug this in as our H2. And then let's just reformat this. One other tip is to never have one word just hanging out here by itself. So I always recommend having at least 2 words so that it has a buddy. This is a typography tip for you guys if you didn't already know to look for that. And then we're going to bring in both of these as the body copy. We're going to delete the arrow because this is the last page. And then what I want to do is add in one of Kate's brand photos onto this last page. So I'm going to copy that and plop it in here. I love that photo. And then last but not least, we're going to add one more rectangle at the bottom to really highlight that call out. So I'm going to make this the full width and pull this down. And then let's make sure we pick a brand color. Let's do the green this time. And then what I'm going to do is cut that out of there, and we're going to make our own text box so that we can style the text a little bit differently. I like that it's bold, but let's maybe make it white just because I think that that would stand out a little bit more here. So there we have it. We have her call to action. This is a great last page. It tells people what to do if they're interested. And this is something that she can use over and over and over again and just swap out the image, swap out the text, and it's ready for you, made, super easy to use. So that is what I have for you guys today. I'm going to hand it over to Rachel now, and she is going to help talk through the different pieces of copy, your brand voice, and how to utilize AI to really make that shine and make it super easy for you to make content. So I'll hand it over to you.
Hang on, I was muted. A few quick questions in the chat before we dive into brand voice. Question number 1 from Christine. I love how this particular website after is fairly similar to Kate's brand aesthetic and it feels really consistent. What would you recommend if my client's branding and website after version is not as fitting with Christine's brand to be posting that on her page?
Great question. I would say like surrounding it with neutral parts of what your branding is going to be very helpful for you. So even like having a white background, like white and black, you know, those like work for like every color, right? So like make it neutral, make it simple. All of your case study pages should be this so that all the focus and all of the work is going to be highlighted on like the client case study, right? So you don't have to have your branding super loud in these moments. Great question.
I love it. And then in terms of batching content or, dedicating time to this, is there a specific process that you have or time that you dedicate to kind of prep these posts, or have the foundation that's really easy for you to swap new information into your templates?
Yeah, absolutely. I like to batch mine in the task that I'm doing. So I will spend like 1 hour just doing copy. And then another day I'll spend like another hour just doing formatting. I think this is really helpful for my brain because I can kind of utilize like different parts of it and not be overwhelmed by doing everything from start to finish for one post. So I like to do like a month's worth of content and do that over the course of like a couple different hours, but break it apart in different sections. So that's what's worked really well for me. So I'd recommend like trying that and like see if that can like increase like the efficiency of your workflow.
Yeah, really the goal of the brand audit is to give yourself this foundation and reduce the micro decisions that you're making every time you go to post. One question Kate had, is it lame to use the exact same outline for testimonial posts, or should you try to mix it up, speaking from a non-graphic design artist?
Yeah, super great question. I would say, no, it's not lame. I use the same exact template. I have never changed it for mine. And like, I like for me that people start recognizing it. And when they see that, they immediately think Venlo Studio, right? So to you, it might feel boring and it might feel old, but it doesn't feel that way to other people. I would say like you can switch it up a little bit, like especially for Kate's example, she has like other gradient colors that are really fun. So add different colors of gradients. Like that's a really easy way to switch it up without like completely changing your template.
Yeah, I love that. Amazing. Oh, Lydia, so good. Okay, so we've audited our visuals. We're starting to set up that foundation there, which is amazing. But okay, we want our brand to look good. Also important to understand, okay, how does our brand sound? I think AI is in all the headlines, it's in all the buzz right now. And I am sharing from someone who was very anti-AI last year of just, I'm overwhelmed by it. I don't, or like one of the biggest value adds of my business is being authentic, is being human, is being a real life person that's going to walk with you during this journey. And AI doesn't feel like that's consistent. Fast forward, I took an AI course because I was like, hey, I got to figure out what this is all about. And my mindset has shifted 180, totally different. Fully rewired to really embrace AI and use it in a way that amplifies my voice and gives me more time to really be human with my clients. So what does that mean? I think that most people get stuck with using AI or content creation because they sit down and they're like, okay, out of the box, ChatGPT, super generic, AI, it's not that it's not smart, it just doesn't know who you are and it doesn't know how to speak like you. So we have to train it or teach it who you are and how to create content that genuinely sounds like you. I think of it as AI is a 10-year-old genius. It knows everything, it remembers everything. It just doesn't know you, and it needs very specific instructions to write like you. For example, if you were to tell a 10-year-old, go make your bed, like they need to know, like, okay, first we pull the sheets this way. Second, we fluff the pillows that way. Like it needs very specific instructions to complete the task to our standard. So I want to teach you how to build what is called a brand guardian. Again, I learned all of this through the AI program that I took. It was a 10-week intensive course taught by Callan Faulkner, AI Genius. I'm condensing one portion of that into 15 minutes here. So very quickly, then giving you more information to dive deeper. But she calls this the Brand Guardian, which is a custom version in ChatGPT that protects your tone. It understands your audience. It helps you create content faster without losing your voice and without just throwing stuff into the web that anyone could write, right? So again, Callan is who I learned all of this from, but I learned most importantly that AI isn't about just productivity. It's about building trust through consistency and making sure that every time that our clients see or hear from us, that message is being reiterated in a very consistent way. So I'm going to share my screen here. I am in the pro version of ChatGPT here. So I'm going to teach you how to create your own custom ChatGPT that you can go back through, create new chats with and whatnot. So step one, open chat. You're going to go to explore and create your own ChatGPT here. We're going to name it Rachel's Brand Guardian. For the description, you can obviously customize this exactly, but I'm just going to put, okay, it helps me write and repurpose content in my own authentic voice. For instructions, I'm going to give you a prompt that's going to create very, very specific custom instructions for you, but I also want you to walk away with something that could work immediately. So I'm going to give you some generic instructions to put in to start, and then after I'm going to give you a checklist of how to make this even more specific. So I'm putting in, okay, you are my brand guardian. You're going to help me write content in my authentic voice, which is, for me, it is polished, it is warm / approachable, and it is empowering. I want my content to be educational and leave people feeling like, okay, I can do this. You understand that my ideal client is, again, I'm going to give you a full breakdown of how to identify who is my ideal client and what does chat need to know about them. But again, starting simple so that you can walk away with something today. You understand that my ideal audience is first-time home buyers for me. I do have other kind of subsections, but this is going to encompass a majority of my audience. Okay, I'm telling chat, you're gonna ask me clarifying questions before writing so that this is the key, that if you just do that alone with chat, it's going to help you create better content than you ever could have. Just saying, what information do you need from me so that you can do your job better? And again, thinking of ChatGPT as like, this is a person that you have hired to help you. So talk to it like it's a real life person who is showing up to work unlimited hours for you. And so speaking to them like a real assistant that you would have just hired. So how can I help you help me, essentially? And then they're going to offer multiple variations when helpful. And you help me repurpose content, brainstorm new ideas, refine my brand tone over time. When in doubt, check, does this sound human? Does this sound like me? Per my brand voice, which will give them more information later. And does this speak to my people? Is it going to help me take the next step in the relationship that I want to? In terms of conversation starters, you can customize these. I'm going to throw 3 out just as examples. So one that I'll use often is, can you rewrite this in my voice? Maybe it's something that I've written in the past. Maybe it's something that I like online, but it just doesn't quite sound like me. Or a lot of times my hack is I'll audio pen something into like voice record myself, like, hey, I want to write a post about a first-time home buyer. Here's the story. Like, can you polish this up and make it sound like a good postable story versus the word vomit that I just spit out? And then it does. Turn this into 3 Instagram captions, or what does this tone say about me, if I have examples that I want to throw in there. Okay, next we're going to upload files about our business, about who we are. And again, I'm going to help you kind of or give you a checklist of items that you can include in here. So I have my brand guardian base knowledge. I've already put into this file reviews from my clients, copy from my website. I've put in long form emails that I've written that sound like me. I put in my favorite, most engaging Instagram posts that I would, if I could, not spend hours refining those, what I would post there. The prompts that I'm going to include for you after the webinar are going to be the ideal client persona. So you have that. It'll be helping you, a prompt to help you write that long form brand voice, to really quickly give you an idea of what my brand voice and instructions look like. I'm going to pull up a different tab super quickly just so you can see like what this output is, that I didn't write this myself. Like Chat GPT helped me write this. Okay, so here's an example of my ideal client relationship. It's a relationship-focused first-time home buyer. Here's what they value. Here's their demographics. Here's what their lifestyle and interests are. Again, I didn't write any of this. ChatGPT helped me refine this. A long-form brand guide that says, okay, Rachel and her team at Annie Mac Home Mortgage, they're going to be warm and professional. It's going to be like having coffee with a knowledgeable friend who just happens to be a mortgage advisor. It gives information of like do's and don'ts. Like, let's use inclusive language, like we, together, you're not alone in this. Let's break this down. I want to hear from you. It's not going to use big industry jargon. It's not going to talk down to people or tell them what mistakes they're making. Again, I didn't write this myself. I asked Chat, what clarifying information do you need about me to make this? The last thing that I have is, or that I'm going to give you a prompt for, is the custom instructions. So, okay, here's The custom instructions are what ChatGPT is going to go back to every single time to make sure that, or when they're creating content, these are the guidelines that it's going to fall within. So again, you're our dedicated copywriter. This is the person that I'm asking you to be. Here's our overall tone. Here are our main pillars that we want: educational empowerment, authentic communication, simplicity, taking something that's really complex and making it really digestible, and telling people that we really, really care. So this is, and when I feel like the content that it's creating isn't aligning with this, I say, go back to the instructions, go back to my brand guide and ask it. I think that these AI bots they've been trained for you to like them, right? And so most times they're going to tell you, yes, this is great. Like, this is amazing. You are awesome. I go back and say, no, be my hardest critic. Help me make this better, because I'm not the expert copywriter. I want you to be that person. And then it says, okay, you're right. Like, maybe we could tighten it up here. Or I guess you are conveying two different messages here. Like, should we just focus on one for this post? And that's what I like about AI, is it's going to help me think about things in a different framework than I would have. Okay, so again, recapping, we're going to put a description in. This is generic instructions that I'll give you a prompt to customize further. We're going to gather our knowledge, and you can always be adding files. I'm all about, like, progress is better than perfect. Like, start with something and then you can always add more. From there, I'm going to keep it with no recommended model here. I want it to search the web. And so I'm just going to click create. And if you have a team, the one nice thing about ChatGPT is you can share this with your team so that they have access to this yourself. And that's, I think, one thing about this webinar is, hey, maybe you are learning, I actually want to outsource my copywriting or my branding to someone like Lydia or to a copywriter. Okay, amazing. We're giving you the foundation to hand off that information in a way that you now can trust them and they actually have a framework of what you do or do not want. Okay, so I'm going to test this out and say, write an Instagram post or an educational Instagram post for first-time home buyers. Obviously, this is a very, very simple request. The more detailed we can be, the better. But it's saying, okay, here are some options for, okay, home buying 101. Here are a few steps. Let's see, can you give me And I think the biggest skill when it comes to working with AI is how to communicate with it. I have a kind of a cheat sheet of, okay, if you're looking for more clarity or if you're looking for new options, or it feels like we're going down the wrong route with AI or with what they're producing, how do we get it to what we're looking for quicker? Okay, so now it's given me a few different options that that I can pick from. I want to pause. I'm going to go to the chat here and answer some questions. Okay, Christine, do you have to have a paid version of chat? I don't believe that you need to have the paid version to create custom. The other piece is, okay, let's say you don't want to do, you do not want to pay for chat. What I would recommend is still creating a copy and paste piece, and then when you go to start a new project or like a new chat with AI, is put that in first. Say, like, okay, here are the instructions and now here's my request. So give them the project that you want them or the task you want them to accomplish, Instagram caption, refining your website copy, whatever it is, but then say, okay, here is the knowledge base that I want you to draw from. This is like having that already baked in just helps expedite that. Um, I've never used the free version of chat, so I'm not super familiar of what is allowable there. And then, okay, but Kate said yes, you did pay for it. So the hack, if you don't, is just have that handy and then copy it in when needed. And then, hang on. What's the difference between a project folder and a new chat? So my recommendation with that is I would use the new chat. I think it's going to be simpler. When you get into the projects, it gets a little bit more nuanced in instructions and whatnot. Other questions or thoughts that would be helpful to get clarity on? Again, my hope is that just with this information, you're starting from a spot to put a tab or a request into chat that is less on the fly prompting and has more basic information. Again, when I learned how to create the Brand Guardian, I was like, and I actually started using it. Every single business owner needs to have this. Again, does it mean that one prompt gives me a finished product right away? Not always, but it's pretty close. And then, like I said, I will include some phrases for you to get to where you want to go quicker with AI. So it's not multiple iterations before you get that copy paste into your home buying guide, or excuse me, your like welcome packet, your website copy, your social media post, etc. And again, going back to, for example, like, okay, loving option 3, like how, I'll say, ask me clarifying questions to make this better. Okay. And then it's going to ask me for information that then I can either voice dictate in or text out. So if you take anything away from today, ask me clarifying questions after you submit a request to AI. I think will be life-changing in itself.
One more
Christine,
question. Yeah,
yeah.
did you see that? Okay.
Okay, how you came up with the knowledge PDF. Yes. Okay, so I will give you a checklist for that. But essentially what's in there is the client person, or like, who is my ideal client? Again, I'll give you a prompt to create that. The long form brand guide, prompt to create that. And then the reviews, copy, and like pending how you're using chat, like it might be helpful for you to put your team information in, or like you can put as much into that knowledge bank as you feel is appropriate. Again, I would think of, okay, if I was hiring someone, like what information would they need to do this job? And so, but I will send out that prompts and the kind of checklist of ideas to put in there in our follow-up resources. So, like I said, I know this is the bare bones of a brand guardian. If you want to connect one-on-one to set up your specific brand guardian, I'm going to be sending a link to my calendar for you to book time on that. I'm happy to sit down with you and walk through screen share and make sure that you're feeling set up in a way that you're super excited and empowered to use the brand guardian. Secondly, again, I learned all of this from Callan Faulkner. She's the owner of the Uncommon Business, and she is, like I said, the kind of was my guide in my AI journey. And so she is opening a cohort here this fall that will go far deeper into Brand Guardian, but then also other elements of systemizing your business using AI. So I'll send the information to go directly to the source if you are like, hey, I want to like go deep in AI and really start integrating this in my personal or business. I know that Lydia also has some additional resources for the branding side of things. So Lydia, I want to throw it back over to you to share kind of how people can go deeper on the branding side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. So after going through this, if you decide like you need a little bit more one-on-one personalized support, I'd be happy to go through that with you on like a very personal level, like kind of like what I did with Kate, and have like a 30-minute call. So I am offering only for the next month, I'm going to offer a 30-minute brand consultation for half off. So it'll only be $75, and this will be your time to ask me anything you want. If you're stuck with like not knowing what is true to your brand, we can walk through different examples, and I can kind of do it hand in hand with you to show you how I would do that for your brand. So we will send that link to book if you're interested in kind of doing that deeper dive on the visual side as well. That'll be in our email after the call. So
Amazing. If there's any last questions, throw them in the chat. We're coming up on the hour, so we want to be respectful of your guys' time. I know Lydia and I could talk all day about this, so if there's any last questions that are burning that you want to get answered today, otherwise, a follow-up email with the replay, as well as the details to get in touch with myself and Lydia to go deeper, will be coming into your inbox here. Checking to see if there's any other questions in the chat. Otherwise, thank you guys for investing time and energy into your business and spending time with us today. We are here cheering you on. We are a resource. We want to connect with you guys. So stay connected on social, message us directly to continue the conversation. That's what we're here for. Lydia, any
awesome.
last thoughts from you?
No, I don't think so. I'm just feeling encouraged that this seems like it was helpful for people. And that was really our goal, is just we want to make life a little bit easier for all of you. So I'm super thrilled that you got something out of this. And yeah, please do stay connected. If you have a quick question, Rachel and I are both super open to chatting with you via email. If you have anything specific coming up, if you have questions about the workbook or how to implement anything, we would love to help. So thank you so much for being here. And we hope that it makes your life a little easier.
100%. Awesome. Thank you guys. So good to see you all, and we'll all be in close touch.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.